Have you ever really stopped to think about the shirt on your back? I mean, it seems so simple, right? It's just some fabric, some thread, a couple of buttons. But what if I told you that it's actually the result of a high-stakes, high-tech ballet of engineering, psychology, and even robotics? Yeah, let's get into it because we're about to pull back the curtain on the hidden world of industrial engineering that turns a simple piece of cloth into that shirt you're wearing. So take a look at this. It's a standard dress shirt. We've all got one, or something like it. But behind this everyday object is this unbelievably complex manufacturing puzzle. It's a puzzle of speed, cost, and absolute precision. And for the company making it, solving that puzzle is a multi-million-dollar question. And that right there, that's the real challenge. We're not talking about making one shirt, or even 100. We're talking about making 15,000 of them every single day. Now, at that kind of scale, every wasted second, every inefficient movement, every machine in the wrong spot, that doesn't just cost pennies, it costs an absolute fortune. So how on earth do the pros even begin to tackle a problem this massive? Well, it all starts with a diagnosis. You can't just go in and throw a bunch of fancy new machines at the problem and hope for the best. Nope. First, you have to play detective. You've got to treat the factory floor like a crime scene of inefficiency. And the very first clue you're looking for? It's something called a bottleneck. Think of it like a traffic jam on the highway. It doesn't matter if your car can go 200 miles an hour. If there's one car stopped up ahead, the entire system grinds to a halt. It's the exact same principle in a factory. One slow operator or one poorly placed machine can bring the whole assembly line to a crawl. So job number one is to find that traffic jam. And you don't find it just by guessing. There's a whole system for this. Consultants use this really rigorous four-phase approach. They start by researching every single operation. Then, and this is old school, but it totally works, they're out there with stopwatches and clipboards, literally timing every stitch, every movement. All that data gets crunched, and only then do they start to implement changes. So to you and me, this probably just looks like a factory layout. But to an industrial engineer, this is a map of hidden traffic jams. I mean, an operator walking an extra 5 feet to grab a piece of fabric might seem completely trivial, but multiply that by thousands of garments a day, and you're suddenly talking about hours and hours of lost time. Okay, so you've found the problems. Now the next step is not to buy a bunch of shiny robots. And this right here reveals one of the biggest mistakes companies make in automation. They throw technology at a problem before they've fixed the human process. The smart approach is to address the human factor first, because technology is just a tool. It's the people using it who make the real difference. This whole philosophy is at the heart of the process, and it's called mind and technology. And that order is absolutely crucial. The mind comes before the technology. You have to optimize the way people think and work before you can successfully bring in new tools. It's really all about building a culture of efficiency from the ground up. So to do that, they hold these intensive seminars for the entire production team. They teach concepts like line balancing, which is really just a fancy way of making sure every single person on the line has a similar amount of work, so nobody's just standing around waiting. And they teach motion study, which is basically the science of making every movement as efficient as humanly possible, eliminating any wasted effort. And this isn't just some boring theory in a classroom. It's a 5-day hands-on boot camp where the team learns to do their own time studies, analyze data, and help redesign their own production line. And get this, by day 5, they're the ones presenting the solutions to management. This is so key because it creates ownership and it makes sure the changes are actually going to stick. All right, so once the people and the processes are optimized, now it's time for the technology. This is the automation phase, where you bring in very specific machines to solve the very specific bottlenecks you already found. You can really see the connection here. You start with the goal, the perfect shirt, and then you design the factory system to produce it with machine-like precision. This means finding all those repetitive, time-consuming tasks that are just perfect for a specialized robot to handle. For dress shirt, this means very specific things. Like, think about attaching the pocket. Doing that by hand requires perfect alignment every single time. An automated station can do it way faster and with flawless consistency. Same deal for attaching the collar or the cuffs. Each one of these automated stations is basically designed to replace a major bottleneck that was identified way back in phase 1.
So, you've diagnosed the problems, you've trained the people, and you've installed the technology. What's the payoff? This is where it gets really dramatic. The results of this mind-first, technology-second approach are honestly just staggering.
In a real-world case where they used this exact process, the transformation was undeniable. It's all right there in the numbers.
First off, workforce efficiency. The factory needed 23% fewer operators to produce the exact same number of shirts. Now, this isn't about working harder, it's about working smarter, with better processes and targeted automation taking over all the most repetitive tasks. And that efficiency translates directly to the bottom line. The factory saved nearly $4,000 per day. Let that sink in for a second. That's over $1 million a year in savings just from redesigning a single production line. The cost of a single shirt really tells the story. Before the changes, the sewing cost for one garment was 33 cents. Afterwards, it dropped to 24 cents. That's a 27% reduction. Now, 9 cents might not sound like much, but when you're making $15,000 a day, that 9-cent difference is absolutely everything. This table just puts it all together. Fewer machines, fewer operators, dramatically lower costs, all while producing the same target quantity. This is what happens when you combine human ingenuity with precise technology. You get a system that's less chaotic and a whole lot more like clockwork. So the next time you put on a shirt, maybe you'll think about it a little differently. Will you think about that invisible orchestra of industrial engineers, skilled operators, and precise robots, all working in perfect harmony just to create it? Because that simple shirt in your closet, it's not just a shirt. It's a small miracle of modern manufacturing.